Welcome to the third video tutorial in the iPad Assessor application series. Today we're going to have a look at access auditing. This diagram shows the process that the application uses. By now you should have successfully installed the application on your iPad. In the first video tutorial we looked at the second stage of pre-assessment. In the third video we looked at stage 3 assessment, specifically hazard identification and risk assessment, and in this video we're going to look at access auditing, which is also part of stage 3. So to start the application, we click on the assessor icon, and that takes us through to the splash screen, and then we press the button at the top left hand corner, councils it says, and then we go through to the council area that we've already entered, test council in this case, and then we go through to the assessment which we entered before, initial assessment. And then we go through to the beach that we've added, which is Bondi, and then through to the audits. And in this video we're going to do the access audit. So once again we've got a list of all the different audits that we can do. We've already done hazards, and we can see that we've got 2 hazards listed from before. Accesses shows us 0, so to go through to the access screen we click on accesses. Now to add a new access we click on the access button at the top left hand corner of the screen. We then select edit, and that brings up the add access option. To add an access we then click the plus button, and I've got one from before that I've entered previously, but you won't have any options there. So to add a new one we select edit, and gives us the add new item option. Now we can select the plus button to add a new one, and it brings up a text box, and we just type in the access type. Now we may want to type in here if it's a formal access or an informal access or a stepped access or whatever type of access you might have. So we're going to type in informal access. Then to save that we select done, and then we select done again to remove the edit features there. Done. And so now we've got 2 options there. Now if I want to remove any of those options from the menu, I can just select edit again, and that shows us the minus buttons next to each of those menu items. I can just hit the minus item. In this case I'm going to remove the menu item that I'd previously entered, and I can hit delete, and that's removed. Now once we add items to the menu, we don't have to enter them again. So if I wanted to add in the other types of access that I might want, I can do that now. So formal access, done. I'll add another one in, maybe vehicle access, done, and I'll just leave it at that for now. So in this case we're going to we'll choose formal access, and I'll just select that, and that puts it into the access menu, and then I hit done, and then I select that to go through to the access screen. Now on this screen you see there's an area to enter a description of the access, so we might enter information there about the location of the access, any specific features relating to that access. We've got a coordinate, a GPS coordinate, so the location. Now, if I was doing an assessment, I would mark the location of the start of the access, so in a similar place to where we would put any signage. We also have existing controls. Now, in the hazard identification and risk assessment screen, we had existing controls as well. These existing controls are the ones that have been put in place specifically relating to this access point. And we also have recommended controls, and again, they're the recommended controls specifically that would go in place around this access point. We have associated hazards and photos. So we'll start with the description. Now that brings up a bigger text area, and we can type a description of the access way. Now I might put, first access path, southern end of beach. Then I hit done, and that's saved. So the GPS coordinate works the same as it does in the hazards. We can either mark it if we're getting an accuracy reading that's within plus or 5 meters. We might want to just hit mark, and if we do that, then that locks in those coordinates, so we can then walk away and the GPS coordinate won't be updated. If we're getting a bigger error margin than that, we might want to just check the location by using the drop pin feature. And so we click the drop pin button, it'll bring up a map. Now that's showing where I am here. If I want to move that, I tap the pin on the map, and that'll bring up the drag me window. And then if I touch the pin again, but this time hold my finger against the screen, the pin will lift off the map, and I can move that to a new location. So I'll move it over to Bondi Beach, and then recenter the map. I might change it to satellite, and then I can zoom in by pinching out. Now if I pick it up and go to the southern end of the beach, and I might put it up there where there's an access. When I'm happy, I just hit done, and that locks those coordinates in place. Existing controls brings up the list of existing controls. It's the same list that we get in the hazard identification and risk assessment screen, and I can put things in there like safety signage. Now around an access track we might have rubbish bins. The next item there is recommended controls. So these are the ones that we're recommending. So we might be recommending a different type of safety signage. We might be recommending, if there's a problem, temporary barriers. Might be recommending, we could recommend closure of this access track because it's dangerous. Now then we move on to associated hazards. Now you won't get the full list of hazards there that are in the hazard identification and risk assessment screen. You just get the list of hazards that you've already assessed. So in order for a hazard to appear in the access associated hazards menu, it must first be assessed. So if you haven't got the one you're looking for, you'll have to go back and assess it through the hazards screen, and then it'll appear here. But we've already done shallow sandbanks and dumping waves, so we can choose those ones. And the reason we do it that way is because these hazards are the ones that we may wish to put on signage at this access point. We can then choose a photo, or we can use the camera to take a photo. And we select done. We can also add more photos if we wish, but that's basically how you add in an access track. If we want to add another access track in, we just go add new access. But this time we've already got formal, informal and vehicle access that we've added there before. But when I do assessments, sometimes when we do the next access track along, it's usually pretty similar, or in most cases it can be similar. So what we've got is the copy feature here. You can just press copy and then copy the access that you've entered in last time. So we press formal access and then that'll appear in the menu. Now the copied one has an asterisk at the start of it, and if we select that, it'll bring with it all the details that we entered in before. We can see that this is the copied one because it's got the asterisk next to it. Now I would want to get rid of the asterisk, so I just press the blue button and select formal access again. It doesn't matter if it's got the same name because we're going to give it a different description. So we'll say second access along from the southern end of beach. So, and then we're going to put a new location in there. So if we drop the pin, and then we'll just zoom out and again move the pin to where we want it. But this time we're going to go to the second access. Get there eventually. There we go. And done. Add a new photo. Hit done, and that's good. Now you just check all the details still matching that we entered in for the last access, and then we're good to go. So now we've got two formal access ways entered in the accesses, and you can either continue to copy or you can add new ones in. So that's how we enter in information relating to access tracks into the iPad assessor application. That's all we're going to do in this video.